Good afternoon or good morning, everyone, depending on where you're connecting from. I'm Charoh Ortiz, National Community Outreach Manager for the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society, and I'm honored to share this time with you and my co-presenters, Edgar Aguilar and Romero, who's in the background, from Promotoras con Alma. The Leukemia and Lymphoma Society is also known as the LLS, and it was really born out of a family's grief following the death of their teenage son, and that was back in 1944. Since its foundation in 1949, the LLS has invested nearly 1.7 billion in groundbreaking research, pioneering many of today's and most innovative approaches. The LLS's mission is to find cures for leukemia, lymphoma, and Hodgkin's disease, as well as myeloma. And we definitely also work diligently to improve the quality of life of patients and their families. The LLS wants to ensure that all patients can access the life-saving treatments they need, and as well as the resources and support that can make a positive impact on their health. As a nonprofit organization serving patients, caregivers, and survivors across the nation, the LLS recognizes the value and impact of collaborating with Promotores de Salud to ensure that we reach our goal of serving communities, especially our Spanish-speaking populations, typically underrepresented in many areas, as you already know. That's why for more than a decade, the LLS has partnered with Promotores de Salud and most recently with Promotoras con Alma. Today, as part of our conversation, our goal is to show you how large nonprofits leverage the expertise, knowledge, and cultural competence of CHWs or promotores to enhance outreach, education, and connection within underrepresented communities. We'll also discuss how an organization can contribute to the career advancement of the promotores or CHWs and foster successful partnerships. Now I'd like to invite Edgar Aguilar to a brief introduction and to tell us about Promotoras con Alma and its mission, as well as the value he finds in that collaboration between LLS and PCA.
Thank you so much, Charoh. Hi, my name is Edgar Aguilar. I'm the managing director for Promotoras con Alma, and I've been working with Promotoras for over 15 years now. Romero, my partner, has been working with Promotoras for over 30 years. I got that right today. Good. I got it. And she starts a promotora herself. So we're very proud to work with promotoras and support the work that they do. I just wanted to share my screen so I can tell you a little bit more about our organization, which is a fairly new organization, although we've been working with promotoras for many years. Our mission at Promotoras con Alma is to create a space in which promotoras discover their personal wealth, acquire knowledge, enhance their skills, and receive support in becoming the catalyst for community transformation. We believe in promotoras. We believe that they have what it takes to reach community, to serve them, to help them improve their quality of life. And we see it as a role to support them in order to do what they're so good at and they're very passionate about doing. The way that we go about our mission is by providing direct services. We employ promotoras, and there's also volunteer promotoras in our organization. And we provide direct services through outreach, education, service navigation, and advocacy. We also develop curriculum specifically for promotoras. We tailor for them based on popular education and covering a variety of topics that are needed by promotoras. We lead a promotoras coalition, and we provide promotora training. And what we're here all about, for us, collaboration is extremely important. It's part of our goal is that promotoras, together with government agencies, government department, and other CBOs, we can come together, we can sit at the table, we can discuss the needs, we can discuss the opportunities and solutions to find long-lasting solutions to the challenges that our community is facing. So that's why we're here today, to talk about amplifying our reach, effective collaboration between an organization, a national organization such as LLS, and our organization, Promotoras con Alma, which is a small nonprofit. For us, like I said, collaboration is extremely important. We learn from our partners. We get to share resources. We get to amplify our voices. We reach markets or communities that we might not have reached otherwise. We achieve better outcomes. We can serve our community better by working together. And it creates opportunities for everyone. It creates opportunities for the national organization, for the local CBO, for promotoras, and also for communities that might not have had access to these resources otherwise. In order to collaborate effectively, I think we need to be ready to invest in the collaboration, show a genuine interest in helping each other achieve our goals, and be ready, be open to implement change. And basically, that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about our experience, LLS and Promotoras con Alma, a partnership that started in late 2020. It's been going on for a few years, and we're going to talk about our experience, what changes we were able to achieve, and what we learned along the way. So I'll give it back to you, Charoh.
Thank you, Edgar. Thank you for letting us know more about Promotoras con Alma. And so, yes, picking up on from what you're talking about and the reason or one of the reasons why you joined this conference or this workshop in particular is because we want to share with you our experiences, what has worked and what has not worked or continues to, or there's room for improvement, let's say that. So in a relationship between promotores and an organization that is a nonprofit that has a national outreach, such as LLS. And in our experience coming from LLS, I could say that this relationship between promotores or community health workers, it started actually locally within our communities where LLS already had representatives working for the community who didn't necessarily speak the language or Spanish in this case, but saw the interest and the need more than anything about, or for LLS to actually bring these resources or the resources we have in Spanish. And of course, with this information, with this background information from our own representatives, understanding that there was a need for a greater reach within our Spanish-speaking communities, then the LLS started to see, well, obviously the need and invest in actual staff that's bilingually and culturally competent to be able to reach those communities. So while everything started at the grassroots levels with our representatives actually making the first contact with local promotores within their communities, then the corporation, the nonprofit, the organization as a whole, realized that this was important, that someone in each community knew better than we did at a national level or at the corporate level. So we have staff members such as Bethany Mills in the Central Valley covering Northern California as well in Los Angeles, who worked hard and diligently to start and develop these relationships with the local promotores. And even if they were not completely bilingual, they saw again the need and started to strengthen these relationships by first understanding what was needed within each community to make sure that LLS came up with the resources that were obviously needed. We also have other representatives, Odilia, we have in Los Angeles, Javier Macias in the area of Chicago and Oregon and Washington State, who also started to build on these relationships. And this was 10 years ago when it was not a clear understanding of how promotores would help, but yet they knew that they held a very important information that it was not easy to see and observe at a corporate level. So out of this awareness, the LLS developed and expanded its Hispanic and Latino outreach program, which is a long-term commitment really to decreasing barriers to optimal care. So how? Well, by enhancing community engagement, right? And accessing to these communities that need the most, and bringing and delivering blood cancer information and resources and educational programs that, again, are linguistically and culturally appropriate. Just in 2023, for example, the LLS increased its reach and engagement of promotores de salud And actually previous, let me go back, because in 2020, that's when Promotoras con Alma became more engaged and, or LLS is starting a stronger relationship with Promotoras con Alma. And of course, this efforts to expand the communication expanded. So what's happened is because of the information we receive from promotores within each community, LLS has decided to start investing in more educational programs within each community, in translating all the documents that are appropriate for the community, and also developing new resources, expanding our digital services, for example. In 2023, LLS launched the Cafecito con LLS, for example, which is a web-based talk show, and that's our host is Javier Macias, and is very successful in bringing and delivering information specific to blood cancer patients and survivors and caregivers who can benefit from this information where there's nowhere else to go. And originally, as you can imagine, all this information was in English. If it wasn't because we have some eyes and ears within the community, thanks to the promotores who know their community, we wouldn't have been able to develop this services and programming that are tailored again for that community. LLS also decided to invest in more resources. So we created podcasts, Facebook Lives, and other workshops, and worked together with Promotores con Alma most recently in delivering in-person educational programming. And again, it was because of this partnership that we were able to, first of all, reach out to the right community members and timely and in an appropriate way and in a sensitive way and in a culturally sensitive way again. So another way where LLS has been understanding that there is a need for expansion is in bringing and workshops and education or training, more appropriately said, for promotores. We understand that promotores are a well of knowledge and they want to learn more, and they're so willing and ready. So as an organization, it's not only our duty to say, sure, let's get in contact with the promotores and hear what they have to say, because their voice has power and nobody knows the community better than they do. That's where they live. That's where their families will, have spent many years, or that's where their heart is at. So that's a huge point. But we also understand that they want to learn more. And for us to deliver successful information and resources, the best we can do is provide them with proper training. So investing in our training and workshops has been key. This year, we plan on launching our very first training for promotores, and this will be a virtual training. It's been in the making for the last 2 years. It hasn't been that easy, but if it wasn't because we heard it from promotoras like Romero, Edgar, and we hear from their experiences, understanding what promotores need, then we wouldn't have been able to come up with this training. I mean, it's easy to say, well, this is what we want them to hear. But it's nothing like understanding when it's coming from a promotor, understanding how they're going to deliver the information, what kind of information sticks within their communities. So again, the voices are important, and not only in shaping your own strategies as an organization to deliver information, but also as you develop your own programming or training for promotores. So as I already said, delivering resources within a community requires an army, right? And nobody gives us more support than the promotoras, really. Why? There's just a few key points here, and I'm sure you know this already, but who has credibility within their community if it isn't promotores, right? Coming from an organization, you're an outsider. If you are working at a national level like I do, yes, I do have rapport within some communities, but overall, we need someone who people can go to and trust and believe, right? And also we need to deliver. So there's a few key points here. First of all, you make a connection with someone in the community that knows the community, but you also have to be ready, prepared, and willing to deliver, to make sure that the connection, in this case, the promotor, has the tools that they need to do it and sustain it, right? Because just establishing a relationship, it is not enough. You have to sustain it. Just like any relationship, you need to make sure that you're there and you're present, and also that you deliver. Credibility is important on both ends of the spectrum. So that's why it's important again to understand and always keep in mind that even as an organization, you do have your goals, your set of ideas, your strategies. But these strategies, when it comes to reaching or engaging with the community, you must consider the voice of the promotores that are already working within that community to shape your own strategy, and not the other way around and try to think that we're going to come up with a sort of marketing like or advertisement type of campaign, because it's not the way it works. The best way to work with the promotores is by collaborating and feeding from each other's experiences. The promotor brings that experience, they bring that expertise, they know their community, what they need, when they need it, and how to best deliver it. That's how we shape our strategies, and that's how we shape the way we deliver information within communities. So again, that's the importance of doing that. And it doing this has been successful for LLS. And just in 2023, to give you some numbers, through this Latino outreach efforts, we were able to reach 115,000 Spanish-speaking community members through education and awareness programs across major Hispanic markets in the U.S., including Puerto Rico, Chicago, Texas, California, Florida, North Carolina. And this is, of course, in great part, again, a result of the collaboration already established by our local patient community outreach specialists and managers with the local promotores and CHWs, among other organizations. And if we want to keep this going, the key word here is to continue the dialogue, allowing the promotores to feed you in, bring you information. They're your ears and your eyes. And you as an organization become stronger by allowing promotores to help you shape your own strategies to engage within each community. So I think with that, I can go ahead and ask Edgar about your own experience and on the other side of the spectrum.
And I'm gonna share some slides here. I think you can get an idea of what I think about our collaboration experience through this picture. It was great. It was a great experience collaborating with LLS from the beginning. When our local person, Bethany Mills, she contacted us. She wanted to learn more about us. We found her to be very caring, very passionate, very genuine. She truly wanted to learn more about what is it that we were doing, and what is it that promotoras do in order to be more effective in reaching the Latino community, and how LLS could be involved, or how could they support that type of work. So again, great relationship with the staff. And another aspect that's very important to us is that we felt that there was mutual respect between both organizations. And this was demonstrated in different ways. One of them, a big one, is the joint planning of activities. So when we were approached by LLS and we started talking about collaborating, and then we started the implementation of this collaboration, it wasn't only, all right, we're gonna have this event, and we're inviting promotoras to hand out flyers or to come to the event, or have this role. It wasn't like that at all. From the beginning, it was a joint planning of activities. What is it that we would like to offer? It was decided that it was going to be in-person conferences, virtual conferences down the line, community events, family events at the park. And from the beginning, we were working together in the development and the planning of these events. The agenda creation, selecting speakers, being part of the events themselves, promotoras speaking at the events. Shelly emceed a few of the conferences. Promotoras shared their testimonies at these different events. They served as moderators in the breakout rooms, in the virtual conferences. They also assisted with the outreach at the event itself. They helped with logistics. So there was many roles that were created or where promotoras, CHWs could be incorporated, and they felt part of the event. They felt part of the organization. They felt valued. They felt respected. So I think that was very important. That LLS acknowledged that there's different roles that these CHWs or promotoras can play within the offering of their services, all the way from planning to being moderators to helping the day of the event. So that was very important, especially for us. We're an organization that supports promotoras, and the theme of this conference really rings a bell for us, making our voices heard. So that's one of the goals for Promotoras con Alma, to make sure that promotoras' voices are heard, and they definitely were heard through this partnership with LLS. Here are some examples of some pictures of events that we had together. As you can see, this conference is co-branded for LLS and Promotoras con Alma. This is a flyer for a virtual conference that was offered. Again, there's co-branding for this event. We help with developing the agenda, selecting speakers, selecting the topics. So again, we were part of different aspects of offering these services to community. And to us, that was LLS showing that they heard the voice of promotoras, that they valued it, and they took it into account by making sure that the activities were shaped through input from promotoras, but also by promotoras, since they were involved in every aspect of these activities. Like I said, promotoras being part of these events made them feel respected, valued, and increase the credibility of LLS within the promotora community, and then they could back them up out in their own communities. This is an event at the park, Lamont, a very small town in South Kern, and it was selected for this family event of LLS, which was great. And again, promotoras are all over the place at this event. For us, not only did LLS incorporate promotoras in their activities, but we also incorporated LLS in our own activities. And they were, again, they were very open to doing it, and it helped them and their reach. We incorporated their campaigns into our own work, into our social media. We coordinated workshops for promotoras offered by LLS or their experts. Education topics that were selected by LLS were incorporated into our cápsulas educativas, which are like brief education capsules, brief 20-minute little education session. They were incorporated into those, like I said, Facebook Lives, workshops. Again, their message was also incorporated into our own activities. So it worked both ways. And Charoh touched on this, which I think is very valuable. I think that promotoras bring credibility for an organization within a community. As we know, some of these communities that have been marginalized or abused, they lack trust for large organizations. But we know that one of the values of promotoras, one of the things that they're really good at is connecting to community, because they belong to that community. They've experienced some of the same things that community has experienced, but now they're equipped with knowledge, with resources. So there's that trust, and they share that trust with LLS and bringing them into the community, but also the fact that LLS invested in training them and offering training in Spanish and material in Spanish. Like I said, these different conferences, workshops, these different things, that also helped promotoras when they went out and they delivered the message. Because now they could say, I was trained by this national organization that's an expert on this topic, and this is what I learned. So it also gave credibility to promotoras when delivering this blood cancer message and the resources available. So it really does work both ways. And one of the things that I just want to highlight here is that LLS recognized the positive impact that promotoras had in meeting their objectives. And I think that's important for an organization to recognize. What is this impact that I would like to promotoras to help me with, or this objective that I want to reach, and recognize that they can help you meet it. And we also have to recognize that the skills, abilities, attitude, personalities that make them effective in reaching communities sometimes can be a challenge when integrating them into an existing system. So there's a challenge for the organization. You know, how do I integrate promotoras without my structure rendering their effect, rendering nullifying their effectivity. You know, if they're so effective in a certain way, but not, I bring them into this structure, am I clipping their wings? You know, so how can we incorporate them without clipping their wings? You know, with helping them maintain their effectiveness. The other key thing that Charoh touched on is this bi-directional relationship. That yes, promotoras are learning from this organization, from LLS, are learning about this content, blood cancer education, but LLS is also learning from them. So I think as organizations, that's very important. It's not only I'm going to give you something, but I'm also going to learn something or gain something from you. And I think that was key to the success of this relationship, that LLS recognized the value. They heard the voice of promotoras, and they incorporated what they were hearing, what they were learning into the activities, into the resources, into the investment of resources, to make sure that that investment or those actions reflected what they were hearing from promotoras out in the community. So our experience, like I said, again, our experience was great. It was the right partner, and they had the right attitude to listen and to implement changes, even if it was a little bit out of their comfort zone. So great experience. And I'll give it back to you, Charoh.
Thank you, Edgar. I second that. It's been a great experience on both ends. And I think that one of the key reasons why the experience has been great on both ends is because both organizations have been open to learning from each other, as you mentioned. And another key factor is that LLS as an organization, and it's not the only one at all, has understood the importance of incorporating staff members who come from those same communities who they're trying to serve. So bottom line, if we were to think about strategies that could work and or be successful or help us become successful or start and maintain a successful relationship with promotores de salud across the board, we can think of 3 points. And of course, there's probably room for more, but I can think of 3 important ones. And one of them, and number one is, I would say at this point, is if you don't know where to start, let's say you're an organization starting, and I mean, and we cannot just go out on a given day and say, I'm going to start recruiting a promotor right out of the street. It could happen because they're out there. But realistically speaking, you're not going to go out there and start recruiting a promotor just that easy. So fortunately, there's organizations like Promotoras con Alma that already have that experience and that have a structure for promotores to be recruitable and, you know, for them to be positioned within organizations like us. And it's important because it's just not the only venue, but I would say that it can save you some headaches. And also it's a little more professional, and it saves a lot of time, bottom line, because again, recruiting promotores is not as easy as just going out and saying, hey, I'm recruiting a promotor, and then what do you do with that, right? So I think part of the success between LLS and Promotores con Alma and our relationship overall with promotores is the fact that we have someone who's already helping us organize everything, who's giving us a structure for promotores to be able to deliver and be delivered the education and the programming or the training, right? They have a platform established, and again a strategy, and the sequence. They know how to approach and train and promote and sustain a promotor, whereas an organization is standing alone. You don't have the staff for that. Normally you don't. You really have a department. You may have a department that does community outreach, but I've never heard of a department that does take care of promotores and recruits promotores, right? That's unrealistic. So becoming an ally with an organization like Promotores con Alma and many others out there, it's important for you to create that venue, and for promotores to be able to reach to you, and vice versa, for you to get to know about those promotores within the communities you're serving. So that's point number one. Really become an ally. Get together with other organizations like Promotoras con Alma if you are trying to grow your reach and your engagement within communities you're trying to serve. And then number two, well, continue to value the voice and the expertise that the promotor is bringing to your organization. And listen to what they have to say, and include them in the decision making and the planning, because the planning is key. And while you bring your strategies and your thinking from the corporate side of things, incorporating what the promoters bring to the table is important in being successful in reaching those communities you're trying to serve. So even if that's not well established or well received, it's your role, I would say, working for your own organizations, to advocate for the leadership of these promotores and make them understand, you know what, their voices need to be heard. They are bringing a lot of expertise and knowledge to the table, and they know the community better than many of us here on the corporate side. And it's not always the case, but definitely it's important to hear their voice. And then number three, you have to stay open for changes and keep the conversation going. If you want things to progress in your relationship with promotores, just stay open for change. Everybody changes in an organization, and same thing happens in your relationships with promotores and in the communities, because there's an evolution of things and it's just natural. So remain open. Don't feel that just because you establish a relationship a certain way, it needs to stay that way. The needs change within each community, and also as you progress in that relationship, well, there's more needs, right? And also just just keep listening. Maybe there's requests they didn't make before, but then now they're opening up and saying, you know what, I need more resources, I need more help with this, I need more training like that. We can make changes in how we approach people. So be open to the dialogue again, and be willing to change and embrace that change. And with that, Edgar, I don't know what you want to add on as far as what works to sustain a successful relationship.
Yeah, to sustain the collaboration with this experience and others is I think it's important to recognize and value each other's strengths, and really try to tailor the work to maximize those strengths. But that's why we're looking for collaboration, because we realize that we can't do everything on our own. We realize that maybe we need help in a certain area, a certain aspect of our the way that we serve. So we look for that partner that can help us shine, or that can help us in that area where we're not as strong. In our collaboration, with LLS, Charoh. I think for us, it was recognizing that LLS is the content expert. Uh, you have connection to professionals, to doctors, to universities, all that stuff, for the education aspect, and also you have access to resources. On our end, our expertise or our value is our connection to a network of promotoras, our experience in training them, our experience in incorporating them into existing structures, preparing them to be part of an event, supporting them in facilitating these breakout rooms, like I said, and coaching them throughout. Many times it wasn't just facilitation skills, but it was the technical skills. So this is how you open this room, how you mute the microphone, how you turn on the camera, all that stuff. So that's our expertise. So now, how do we mesh those two together in order to achieve what we want to achieve? The other thing is that we need to be prepared to invest in the collaboration. For us, for Promotoras con Alma, the way that we invested in this collaboration was by, like I said, coaching, supporting volunteer promotoras, coordinating their participation in these different activities. We also uh, we also offer trainings on this topic. We help with the planning of different events, help with the outreach, and just sharing our strategies and experience in working with promotoras. So, and I know LLS, I mean, you guys invested resources developing new trainings, training videos for promotoras. This thing that's going to launch pretty soon, hopefully, online training for promotoras. And just changing the way that you did things, that you incorporated volunteers into some activities. So there was a lot of investment as well from LLS towards that collaboration. So that's what makes it work. Share the work, share the glory, I guess we can put it that way. This co-branding of events, making sure that the people know that this is a collaboration, that we're both together making it happen, recognizing promotoras for their own contribution, just making sure that each partner feels valued. It's extremely important. And I know that people are here today because they want to incorporate, they want to strengthen their work with promotoras. So I just want to ask participants, what challenges have they faced, or do they think they will face when trying to incorporate or partner with promotoras in the work that they're currently doing? Have you guys tried it? What didn't work? What worked? Or what challenges do you face? And can they open their mic themselves, or how would this work? Where's our technical support person? Mac, Zoom?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes. Can participants unmute themselves or raise their
Yes.
hand? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So if you want to share your own experience or challenges in incorporating promotoras, CHWs, please unmute yourself and share with us. Or you can type it in the chat as well, and I'll read it from there. Everybody's shy this morning, afternoon.
Dressed.
One of the things that I have seen many organizations struggle with is that Nanny Vega says trust. Can you expand on that a little bit, Nani? What do you mean by trust? Okay, so many people don't trust in our work and skills. Okay. One of the things that I did in a previous job was incorporate promotoras into this system that was not designed to have promotoras. And again, speaking with other organizations, and I think it goes along with what Nani is saying. Promotoras are great in many aspects of community outreach, education, connection, navigating, supporting. They're awesome. They're just amazing at that. Sometimes some promotoras are not so great at maybe technology or documenting their work, submitting reports. Sometimes for our promotoras, some don't speak English. So now, these become barriers to incorporating them into a workflow. And the mistake that I've seen people do is what I mentioned earlier, that we may try to make force the promotora fit into this role, and then they lose their effectiveness as community workers. The skills and abilities that made them effective are now stripped away because they're being forced to fit into the system. So I agree with you, Charoh. There are organizations out there that specifically work with promotoras. They have experience supporting them, working with them, coaching them, and I think that's that's a good place to start. If you partner with an organization that has this experience already, they can manage the promotora end of things, the support that they need. You wouldn't believe how many times, with something as registering for a conference, how much time we had to spend with different promotoras, helping them through that process, or we assign a volunteer to help them with that process. And otherwise, they wouldn't have participated in that conference because they couldn't register. Some simple technical aspects may be a barrier for promotoras, so we do need to provide additional supports to make sure that they can be part of the offerings of the organization.
Yes, and
Uh,
Edgar, I'm
mhm.
sorry to interrupt, but I wanted, since you're talking and you're an expert more on this topic, I noticed a couple comments here, and one struggle, going back to the trust issue, is Joanna says that she sees that many employers do not understand our role and the nature of our work, so that's why, why we don't work regular schedules, for example, or because they have to meet community members outside of 8 to 5 schedule, which makes a lot of sense. And then Tamiko talks about why people tend not to trust if they're not fully able to communicate with the CHW due to language barriers. So there's the language barrier, there's a trust issue. What can you tell them based on your experience? How can we overcome these barriers?
I completely understand what Joanna's saying about this, 8 to 5 schedule, and then I mean that doesn't work. I mean that's why you want to partner with promotoras, right? Because they're out in the community, they know when to reach community. Promotoras have to be part of the decision-making process. They have to be sitting at that table where decisions are made. The organization needs to be open to listening and making adjustments in order to fit the needs of the promotora, not because they're their personal needs, because they're the community needs. If a promotora is sharing that from 7 to 9 is the best time to reach people, we should listen to them. They live in that community. They know they shop, they play, they're part of that community. So it's a community need. When I started working with promotoras, um, I was amazed. One of the first events that we put together as a promotora committee was this forum. And promotoras decided that it was going to be on a Wednesday from 10 to 2, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. This forum, we're expecting 80 people there, you know, so it was a few hours long. We invited speakers and all that. I'm thinking Wednesday, 10 to 2, people are never going to come. You have to do it in the afternoon. And I've had events in the afternoon, and they weren't that, they weren't, the participation wasn't that great. So I'm thinking Wednesday, 10 to 2, this is not a good idea. We went ahead, we scheduled it, we planned it, we offered it. Over 90 people showed up on a Wednesday, you know, 10 to 2 p.m. I was amazed. I had never seen like that. I had never seen that much participation, that much engagement. But to me, that opened my eyes. We have to listen to promotores. We have to listen to what they're saying, because the conversation was very directed. How many people are you going to invite, and can they come, you know, at this time? And they're saying, yeah. There was about 8, 9, 10 promotoras. They each invited, you know, 8, 9 people, and we had over 80 people at that forum. But they understood the community needs. They said, oh yeah, you know, if we make it a 10, they've dropped off their kids in the morning already. They can come and sit for a few hours. We offer them lunch. That way they don't have to go anywhere. We finish in time for them to go pick up their kids again. It was a community need, and they understood it, and it worked. So we need to listen to what they're saying and be willing to incorporate changes into the way that we do things. And I think you will be surprised. So we need to hear their voice. Basically, we need to hear their voice. Again, I recommend that you partner with an organization that has worked with promotoras in the past, or that is working with promotoras currently, and you partner with them, and they can help you coordinate the promotora aspect of the collaboration. I think that would advance the work a lot further. So
if I may add, Edgar, I think what you're saying is definitely very valuable. The fact that you can have a mediator per se, that can work with the promotoras, and the organization can help if it's possible. And if it's not possible, I would say, coming from the corporate side of things, I would leave you with this. And we have to be a little patient, because this is the change is happening, but it's happening. Large corporations are finally understanding the value that a lot of promotores and community health workers are bringing to the table. They're finally starting to understand that marketing is not the same as engaging with community. And what it takes for us as community members to change the mindset of these large corporations is the example that we're giving them. Organizations such as LLS and others, because there's many others, are starting to incorporate promotoras more and more. Those of us who come from that background as promotores, CHWs, and are reaching different positions have the responsibility to spread the word. That's my personal responsibility, to make sure that my corporation understands the value that promotores, CHWs bring to the table, that they're nothing less than anybody else, that they deserve some sort of compensation, and hopefully we'll get there one day, and that they deserve for us as organizations to develop a structure that can fit them in, because it's needed. An organization without community is no organization. You don't reach, period. So it's a slow process, but it's happening. And by working with organizations like Promotoras con Alma and others that can bring you in that connection to promotores, you solve the problem of language and also the problem of structure that a single promotor may not be able to establish because it's only one person or a small community. But there's got to be, for now, a mediator, someone who can help you with that. So again, I think there's definitely hope, because the need is out there, and it's our responsibility to make sure that we continue to spread the word about the importance of taking promotores seriously. They're just as serious for work as anybody else, and crucial, because if we really claim to be in a community, then we need to be part of the community. A promotor is part of your community.
That's right. Joanna tells us that many employers and other staff think that because some CHWs don't have a college degree, they are not competent and qualified professionals. What they don't know is that the connection we have with the community is incredible. and it is an ability that many other professionals do not have. Absolutely right. When I was struggling, when I incorporated promotoras into the work that I was doing before co-founding Promotoras con Alma, I part of the work was doing some data entry, right? I mean, you do outreach, you do education. We need to put that into a system so we can validate things that we're doing. Promotoras were not good at data entry, so I had to ask myself, what was the purpose of me hiring these promotoras? And the purpose was not for them to do data entry. The purpose was for them to be out in the community, making those connections, educating, helping with navigation. So my structure had to change. Some adjustments were made, and then we had a person who came in for a couple hours each day, and they did all the data entry. And it went a lot better. She was quick. She did a lot of data. She even started helping some of the other employees with their own data entry. But that was not, I didn't hire them to do data entry. So I know other employees did it before that, and it had to be done. But that was I realized that, and I made a small change that really made it helped promotoras shine in what they're great at. And it was not a big change, but it was very valuable. Nani tells us, I think it's important too that the organization share information about their experience working with promotoras, because employer to employer, organization to organization can talk in a point of view. I've seen the benefits, listening for the ones who really have the experience. Yes, I think that we can learn from each other's experience. How have we solved some problems? And hopefully the way that those problems were solved can apply to another organization, to another employer, and they can implement it as well. I just let me share my screen. So what worked? Recognizing and valuing each other's strengths and being prepared to invest in the collaboration. What could improve? On our end, I think that it's important that since the beginning of the collaboration, there is a plan that there's a plan to provide education for promotoras and involvement opportunities. If we can provide education, training, and then give them the opportunity to put it into practice, that really goes a long way with promotoras. They're very action oriented, and they feel it just works great. When you can provide training and then give them the opportunity to put that knowledge into practice. So I think what could improve in the future, Charoh, us, sit down, really plan for what education opportunities could be created for promotoras, what involvement opportunities can be created for promotoras jointly, and really, create these spaces where promotoras can apply what they learned. I know small CBOs, nonprofits, we're always crying about this, that we need money, but it's true, we do need money. So financial support would improve things. It could allow for compensation of the work that some promotoras are doing in furthering the work of the larger organization. They're providing outreach, they're providing education. So compensating promotoras for some of that work or for that work, again, it's important. And also funding to support the CBO who's coordinating the work of promotoras, supporting promotoras, coaching them, all that. So yeah, financial support would be a way to improve things on our end. For you, Charoh, what do you think? How can things improve?
Well, I had to second exactly what you said. On our end, as organizations, nonprofits need to establish or develop a system of compensation, whether it's in the form of a stipend, a real salary, compensation just for doing the work that nobody else in the organization does. And it's only fair. So we are advocating, those of us who've experienced being in the community, at the table, at the fairs, in the heat, in the cold, we understand what it takes to be there for your community. And it's only fair that we figure out a way to compensate promotores in a very proper way. Not only because they deserve it, but it's just fair, you know, and nobody should be getting any less than the rest, especially when you put all your heart into what you do. Something else that could be improved is definitely the way that we accredit or provide certification for promotores as organizations. As we mentioned, or as I mentioned at the beginning, the LLS has worked diligently in, you know, creating the very first training for promotores, and there will be a certification, but this is only the beginning. And maybe every other organization should start thinking about some type of certification that is valid and valuable for each promotor, something that they can bring to the table. All this knowledge needs to be properly certified and recognized as well. So, and that's something that us as organizations need to you know, bring to the table and start that conversation. Again, going back to listening to the promotores, what kind of training you need, what is it that you need to learn, where can we provide that? I mean, part of it, as Edgar mentioned, they did a lot of the training on their own when it comes to even from basic technical things to you know, maybe data entry or anything else. And if we cannot provide it, that's why we have this partnership with Promotoras con Alma, for example, right? Someone who could provide them the training and you supporting them to help you provide proper certification and training to the promotoras who want it and need it. So I think those points need to be improved so that we can continue to strengthen our collaboration.
Thank you, Charoh. And again, my closing words before we open it to questions. They asked us to be done by 12:50 to open for questions. Recognize the value that promotoras bring, how they help you in meeting your organizational objectives. And again, you know, realize or analyze how your structure may be hindering that value. Be ready to make modifications to procedures, to structures in order to support promotoras and allow them to be great at what they do. And also remember this two-way communication. Value that as well. Promotoras, CHWs can educate your organization. They can inform your organization about what's needed, what's the best way to reach the community. So listen to that and be ready to implement it. Incorporate promotoras in the decision-making process. You know, listen to their voice. They're the voice of the community. So you know that's the value they bring, and recognizing that, I think it makes it a lot easier to fight or advocate for changes that allow the incorporation of promotoras into existing systems. So so we're going to open it up to questions. Are there any questions or comments from anyone in the audience?
And Edgar, I wanted to see if I could ask, could you show some of the last slides so that anyone in the audience can contact Promotoras con Alma or LLS for any further questions we may not be able to answer today? So that's our contact. Thank you, Tamiko, for the thank you. I'm glad that you guys enjoyed it. Definitely hope that you got valuable information today. And so if you have additional questions, you know, regarding LLS services, or you want to contact me, there's a contact. This IRC, or the Centro Informativo de Recursos, of course, is open to patients and caregivers and family members who need support when they're diagnosed with any type of blood cancer. The nutrition services are open to anyone who is suffering any type of cancer, not just blood cancer. And those are virtual calls and they're free. So there are definitely plenty of resources in Spanish that anyone can access, and feel free to spread the word.
And on our end, here's our contact information. Our general email address is unete@promotorasconalma.org. We have a weekly newsletter that goes out. You can send an email to that address if you want to be added to the weekly communication. There's Chili's and my contact information. I'll go back to it. I lost it already. I'll gain it again. And there you go. So there's our email address. And also, please follow us on social media. All our content is in Spanish. I mean, that's our audience. Our content is in Spanish, but you can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, and the email is there. We have weekly Facebook Lives on Wednesdays at 12:45, 20 minutes long. Different health topics presented by professionals, by promotoras. Very brief. These are the cápsulas educativas. We have ongoing workshops, trainings. So if you follow us, you'll be up to date with what's going on. These are open to any promotoras and community members. So some are for promotoras only. Others are also open to the community. But any promotora can participate in our trainings and support. If they want to join the coalition of Promotoras con Alma, that's open right now as well. Please send us an email and we can send you the information. So again, thank you for being here. Thank you for participating in this workshop. And Charoh, thank you for the invitation and for the support that LLS has brought to our communities and to promotoras.
Likewise, thank you so much for collaborating, Edgar and Chelly, and for the wonderful support that you provide for LLS's communities or into LLS's communities. And thank you to those of you who took some time of your busy schedule to be with us here for the last hour or so. And again, I'm hoping that all this information will be valuable. Now you got to see who's Edgar and who's me, Charoh. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If there's anything we can do, that's why we're here. Like you, some of us, many of us have been already, we're familiar with the work of the promotor and also on the other side, both of us as organizations and promotores, we need each other. And to me, there's no question about it. It is a truth. And success on both ends relies on this collaboration and strengthening the relationship and just respecting each other's, expertise and embracing each other's differences and creating solutions to make this collaboration stronger.
Yeah. Like I said, we love to collaborate. So if you have any ideas about possible partnerships, you want to learn more about what we do, contact us and we'll talk. Again, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your conference.